Good morning and welcome to the first episode of the Covert Knits podcast. I am Abigail Covert and I will be your host. I'm so excited to finally be doing a podcast here. It's been something I've been thinking about for a long time and I figure why not now? We've got the time, so I'm going to get started on this. I am coming to you today on Sunday, April 5th from sunny Omaha, Nebraska. I hope you all are having a fantastic day. I know it's hard to find fantastic days at this time, but we do our best. So I am just going to jump right in. I'm going to go over some recently finished objects, some works in progress, a few stash acquisitions because I have been buying some yarn, and then some things that I would like to get on the needles soon. I hope you will grab your beverage. I've got my trusty Diet Dr. Pepper here and your needles, and let's get started. So first off, I'm going to go over my most recent finished objects. First, I have a pair of socks. So I am quite the sock knitter. I've been knitting socks for a few years now, and this is my most recent pair. This is just a standard 3x1 ribbed texture, otherwise pretty vanilla. I knit my socks cuff down 2 at a time. I use the knitting Expat 2 at a time method. I found her YouTube video and follow that. I also do her German short row heel. So this yarn is the Patton's Croy blue striped Ragg colorway, and then I just used a little Knit Picks, Stroll Fingering, and Dandelion as the contrast heel. I really hate to break up the front of the sock stripes with by using the stripe in the heel, so I always do a contrast heel especially if it's self-striping. So those were finished. One of my knit group and one person and I did a little knit along in March for these. We both had this yarn in our stash and had been there for a while, so we decided to go ahead and use it up. So those are my first finished object. Next, during this kind of crazy time, I have really felt like hats were the thing that I could knit. The first few weeks of quarantine or self-isolation or social distancing, whatever you're calling it, I didn't have the concentration to really work on anything besides something simple. So I decided to go in and use leftover yarn from all of my most recent projects and knit up some hats. So I have 4 here. I finished 5. The 5th one has already been gifted. These will all probably be holiday gifts or charity knitting, depending on what happens and where I am at that time. So the first is this hat. They're all my own pattern. So I just show that here. I just cast on, depending on the weight of the yarn, a certain number of stitches, do about an inch or so of ribbing, and then stockinette, and then I do a pretty rapid decrease at the top. Let's see if I can show that. This one needs a pom-pom on the top. As you can see, it's got a few holes in it, but that's more the yarn than anything. So, okay, so the yarn on this one is Quince & Co. This one is their Lark base, and the colorway was Peacock. And this was left over from another hat that I had knit. I had 2 skeins of it that was a gift for someone else. So, hat number 1. Hat number 2 is this beautiful fuzzy. I'm not sure if you can, yeah, there you can see the halo. So this beauty is, it's getting a little bit of a glare. There we go. This one is Woolfolk Luft. I think it's colorway 10. I'm not 100% certain. There we go. There we go. This one is leftovers from I knit a Turtledove sweater, which is a fantastic free pattern from Espace Tricot, which is where I bought the yarn. I was in Montreal last winter or last fall and was able to purchase yarn for the Turtledove, and I had just 1 skein left over, so I used it in this adorable hat. Honestly, this one will probably be for me. So That's hat number 2. Hat number 3 is this beautiful red hat. I really like this one. This one turned out really nicely. It's got a nice little bit of drape if you want to wear it as a slouchy. You can turn up the brim and wear it as a beanie. So this one is Malabrigo Rios in the colorway Ravelry Red. It was left over from a child sweater that I had knit that was the Double Dutch Child's Cardigan by Mina of the Knitting Expat. You'll notice a theme here. I knit a lot of her patterns. I just love her. So this was leftover yarn from that. And the 4th and final hat that I've recently finished is this gray beauty. I love this one. It's 100% wool. It's really nice and warm. This one will probably be a charity knit because it is so warm. I really feel like it'll keep people nice and toasty, especially those that don't maybe have a warm place to stay at night. So this one is knit out of Brooklyn Tweed Shelter in the Sweatshirt colorway, and this was a leftover skein that I had from the Weekender that I knit. So this was the color I used on my Weekender. This yarn was purchased at a yarn shop in Detroit when I was visiting last summer, and it was my trip knitting, so that's the leftovers from that. So those are my recently finished objects. I forgot to mention I am wearing, this is what I affectionately call my Golden Girl sweater. Let's see if you can see. The pattern is Ground Pepper by Suvi Simola. Let me double check to make sure I'm telling you that right. Yes, Suvi Simola. It's ground pepper, and I knit it in yarn. This is a sport weight yarn from Dyabolical Yarns. She's actually no longer dyeing, but I just love her stuff, and I had a little bit in my stash. So all of these are her Golden Girls colorways. Let's see if I can do it right. The orangey blue is Blanche. The rose color is Rose. I'm sorry, this one is not Blanche. This one is Blanche. This one is Sophia. And this one is B. Arthur's character, whoever that is. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank, but those are the yarns. I love this sweater. I wear it all the time. My one caveat for this sweater is it does only go up to a 52-inch bust size, which is the size I made. I do feel like the V neckline wasn't really properly graded for larger sizes, and it does only go up to the 52-inch, so just kind of keep that in mind. I try to knit sweaters that go up to a much bigger size, not just for me personally, but because I feel that that's important. But at the time when I knit this, I wasn't really paying that much attention to that. So just my one little piece of information there. All right, so moving on to works in progress. I have, let's see here, I have 3 or 4 that I'm going to show you that I'm working on. I have lots of others behind me that I also have going, but these are the ones that are getting the most work right now. So we're going to start off with, I am knitting, again, from the Knitting Expat, I am knitting her Yorkville sweater. So, sorry, I don't have a color printer, so there's that. And I am knitting it out of this absolutely gorgeous yarn. That's pretty good. This is the Tweedy DK from Teeny Button Studios out of New Orleans. This is, again, her Tweedy DK and Treacle Toffee. It's a Harry Potter reference. Oop. There we go. Okay. So that's what I'm knitting it out of. And here is the project. I have split for the sleeves. I've done the neckline, excuse all the ends, and I'm about 5 inches down on the body. It's this gorgeous kind of waffly texture pattern that she's got going on. I've been knitting this one for quite a while. I love it. I love the yarn. I know I'm going to love the finished project, but the 8-row repeat, while as simple as it is, for a while there, my brain, with everything else that's going on, just wasn't able to focus on it. So I really had to set it down. I kept having to tink back rows, and I just wasn't getting getting it right. So I set it aside, but in the last week or so, I put about almost all of the body portion on. So I am going to make this. This is a fairly cropped sweater. I am going to just knit the body as far as I can with the yarn I've got, and then I've set aside yarn for the sleeves, and then I'll knit those. So I am going to make it definitely a little bit longer than the pattern calls for, but it'll still be cropped, just not quite as cropped as in the pattern. So that is that pattern. So I'm hoping to get quite a bit of work done on that here in the next week or so. Okay, moving on. The next pattern I have, I joined, a friend of mine recently purchased the Knitwit Yarn Shop in Portland, Maine. She's a member of my local knit group here in Omaha, which sounds crazy, but that's how it's worked out. And she just bought Knitwit Yarn Shop, and they have decided to do a knit along. So I purchased yarn from her shop, and we are knitting this pattern. It's the Mira Tee by Elizabeth Smith. So it's this beautiful Quince & Co. pattern. It is knit using, let's get the yarn here. This is the Quince & Co. Kestrel. Let's see if I can, there we go. And then this colorway is, I don't know if you can see that. It is Ebb Tide. So it is colorway 508 if you're wondering. And again, this is Kestrel. This is their worsted weight 100% organic linen. So this is my first time using 100% linen. It's been interesting. I do enjoy it. It doesn't appear to really bother my hands too much, but I do knit a lot, so I'm not sure if that's why. So that's the yarn. And here is the project. Sorry about that. So I am officially at the point on the size that I'm making that I am done with the body portion, but again, I'm making mine just a tad bit longer. I need a little bit more length for my size. So losing stitches here. Problem with linen, it is very slippery, especially on these wooden needles. I guess I haven't been telling you guys what size needles I'm using. These are US 10.5s, 7 millimeters. These are Chaigus. I do not own any interchangeable needles. I own all regular needles, attached, whatever they're, non-interchangeables, because I've been knitting for a very long time and have a million needles and don't feel the need to spend money when I could spend it on yarn. So, that's this project. Again, I'm really enjoying it. It's very open. I'll wear this over another shirt, a long sleeve shirt for work, or a tank top if I'm wearing it out on the weekends. So I'm really enjoying it. I like the weight of it. It feels good. I do find that the linen is a little bit rough, but from everything I've heard, it does soften up quite a bit after washing. So I am very excited about this, and I am actually just kind of, I'm going to do a few more rounds of the body, and then I just have that one skein left of yarn, and then I'm going to, I've ordered some more because I need a little bit more from the Knitwit Yarn Shop. So that is that project. Okay, let's see here. The next thing I'm working on is the only pair of socks I've got on the needles right now. For this, I am using the GnomeAcres yarn. It is the Lovey Dovey colorway in her sparkle. This is her sparkle gnome base. She no longer dyes, unfortunately. When she stopped dyeing, I purchased a ton of her yarn. When she went out, decided to stop dyeing. So I have a lot of this in my stash. So I decided to pull these. These were originally intended to be my one of my Valentine's Day pairs. That did not happen. Let's see if you can, yeah, you can see the sparkle a little bit in there. That's pretty good. So again, this is Lovey Dovey, and I am yet again, wow, this is kind of a fangirl episode, using a pattern by Mina of the Knitting Expat. This is her London B.Ridge sock pattern. So it's 2 at a time, cuff down, And it's pretty vanilla, but it's got these garter ridges in there. So I just love this. It's probably one of my favorite patterns. I've knit at least one other pair of socks with this, and for whatever reason I really like it with the sparkle. So this is my non-thinking yarn or project whip. If I need a few minutes in the evening to settle my brain, this is the project I pull out. So these are my socks on the go. I don't really knit on the go. I don't usually, when I'm working not from home, I do take knitting with me and knit over my lunch hour, but I'm not, I don't have any kids, so I don't spend a lot of time waiting in the car and school lines or anything like that. So I don't tend to have knitting with me when I'm just out and about. I do take knitting to every family event and always amaze people that I can sit there and knit and chat with people at the same time and things like that, but I don't typically have on the go in the car knitting. So these just get worked on in the evenings. Usually I do a few rounds right before bed. So that is that. All right, here. And the last project whip that I'll show you today is, sorry about that, is one more hat. I am still slowly working on hats. These are all, if you hadn't guessed, used yarn from recent projects, and one is no different. It's DK weight, and it'll be mostly gray. Here. And this gray is this Swish DK weight. Ooh. From, not enough hands here. There we go. From Knit Picks. It is the Dove Heather colorway. And so again, I just cast on, and I've been working away on this. I think that this is going to be all gray, and then at the top of it, it is going to have either a few stripes or a pom-pom made out of these Knit Picks, again, leftovers. This is also Swish DK in Amethyst Heather and Honey. So all three of these are leftover. I just recently completed the mini Montrealer for a friend of mine. It has, of course, unfortunately already been gifted, but it is a beautiful pattern. Let me see if I can get a picture of it here for you. So here is the picture. So that's, I did the gray as the main body, the purple as the main stripes, and yellow as the contrasting stripe, and that has already been gifted. So that I have all that left over, and I will all become hats. So maybe a pair of mitts with the yellow and purple left over. But I'm trying to this year use up as much of the skeins of yarn as I can, because I just have so much yarn, as you can see behind me, and leftovers. So that is the goal. So let's see here. I've gone over finished objects. I've gone over works in progress. So my upcoming knitting is actually another mini Montrealer. Again, I'm using Knit Picks Swish DK. This one, the main body will be this Marble Heather. And then the main stripes will be this Gulfstream Blue. So that'll be the main stripes. And then the contrasting stripe will be in Carnation. So again, that's the mini Montrealer. I'm hoping to get that cast on this week. Again, I know lots of little children, so I knit a lot of children's size sweaters. And this one was a great one. If you haven't tried it, you should look it up. The designer is Designs by Dells on Instagram, and I think his Vincent Deland is his name. So he does have an adult size, just the Montrealer as well. One day I will knit one of those for myself. So that is my upcoming knitting. And the only yarn that I have purchased is a few weeks ago at my knit night, local knit night that I run, that our last one before we had to kind of move to virtual knit nights. One of my knitters, one of my co-knitters, had this beautiful skein of yarn, and I've been, again, not trying very hard not to buy yarn this year. Not that I don't want to buy it, but to use whatever I'm buying immediately, and also use up a lot of stash. So I've been very cautious, but I did see this and I just had to have it. And while it hasn't been cast on yet, I'm hoping to cast it on soon. So I purchased this beautiful skein of yarn from Marianthe Yarns on Etsy. And she is out of, I believe she's out of Germany. It is, the colorway is Kaleidoscope. Oh, it's blowing out quite a bit. There we go. I think it looks like Funfetti Cake, which is my favorite, so I immediately knew I had to have it. It is 100 grams, 400 meters, 85% merino superwash, extra fine, and 15% nylon. And I have to tell you, it is some of the softest yarn I've ever felt. Definitely worth a face squish. So I have not decided yet. I love this yarn for socks, but I hesitate to make socks out of such a pretty white yarn. So more than likely, this will be, I'm also considering doing a sock head hat, which I think it would be super cute, and that would be a hat that I keep for myself. So, so that is my only acquisition at this time. Now, I did purchase the Kestrel for the Quince & Co. Mira knit along through Knitwit, so that is technically recently acquired yarn, and I do have some yarn coming from them. In addition to my additional Kestrel, I did buy some more yarn, so in the next episode I will show that. But I have been pretty careful with what I'm purchasing, and I am trying to support online makers right now during you know, this very difficult time for our small businesses. So gift certificates, gifting yarn to friends, that kind of thing. I'm doing that where I can, and I encourage you to do so as well if that's something that you can handle or afford. Okay, so I think that's it for all of my knitting. I'm so glad that you were able to join us. Again, my name is Abigail, and I didn't say this at the beginning, but you can find me online on Instagram. I'm Covert, COVERT _knits. And on Ravelry, I am Covert Knits, no underscore. So you can find me there. I do also run the local Omaha Knit Night knitting group. Right now we're doing virtual knit nights, but we do have meetups when we're able to do so. And there is an Instagram account, just Omaha Knit Night, and a Facebook group, also Omaha Knit Night, for those who are interested in joining. We do have members that don't live here in Omaha, but have reason to be in Omaha on occasion, so they join the group and then they join us virtually or whenever they can. So please feel free if that's something that you're interested in, or if you have any questions, and you can always reach out to me at omahanitnight@gmail.com. That is the best place to reach me for anything yarn related. So thank you again for joining me, and I hope you all have a beautiful day, whatever day it is, and that you're enjoying your crafting at home during this stressful time, and I hope to see you all again soon. Thank you.